Hey there, Joe Techie here. In this video we're going to talk a little bit about the final verdict in my personal experiences with the ZAGG Slim Book. And I just want to preface this that this really has been, everything I'm going to talk about in this video is going to be my personal experiences and not necessarily the experiences of others. So I'm going to start out with outlining all the pros, and then we'll go into the cons, and then I'll discuss my final verdict on this. So, starting off with the pros, this keyboard is very thin, and I'll just quickly outline those because most of you have seen this in my previous video. If you have not, please take a look at my ZAGG Slim Book video review, the very first one. So you can see this is extremely thin. It is actually fairly light. I have had some other ones that were pretty light. The keyboard is backlit, so that's definitely a plus for low light situations. It has different modes, so I could actually turn this backwards, put it in book mode, or you can turn it this way and put it in video mode, or you can just literally take it off and you have it in tablet mode. So there's different modes that you can have with this. It snaps back in here quite easily, so that and the magnets are extremely strong, so I can literally hold this and it actually holds everything in place, so it's not coming out. So it's very secured. You do have varied viewing angles. I think it's a very good plus. It's a very nice looking keyboard package. This is probably the best looking keyboard on the market right now. I'd have to give that one definitely hands down. It is the best looking one. The keys are also very nice feeling. It gives me some substance to type on, and they don't seem to attract very many fingerprints, which is a good thing. This keyboard also features a 2-year battery life. That's the claim that they're making on the case, that this keyboard goes up to 2 years without having to charge it. That is very difficult to test in just a month's time. However, the battery has been holding up on this particular model. Now let's go into the cons. So the back cover material is actually very thin. It's kind of flimsy. It's a little cheap in my opinion. It's also very soft, so it does tend to mark up very easily. So I'll show you just right there. You can see some of the surface scratches that are starting to form, and I've only had this thing for about a month and a half roughly. So the cutout holes are very thin, and in this case this was the previous one. It broke on me. You can see where it's completely busted right there, and this will eventually just chip and break off completely, and I'll have nothing. So this, you'll see, it's compromising the rigidity of the case. The other problem is that the back cover tends to fall out of the iPad. So for example, when I'm opening this from the case, you'll see that it's easy for the whole thing to pop out. This tends to be kind of annoying in my opinion. Now I can control that. When I'm opening it, I can just be very careful. However, that's going to be an issue over time because these cutouts are going to break, and that's just going to compromise the integrity of the case. The case also not being locked in, you can see here the edges they don't come all the way to the corners, which is I think attributing to this problem where it pops out of the back cover. Those two particular issues with the breaking of the back cover and the iPad coming out of the back cover are pretty much, to me, they're kind of showstoppers because of the price tag that you pay for this particular model keyboard. I think it's something that should be much stronger in this price range. The other issue, it's more of an annoyance than anything. The iPad tends to wobble in the hinge, and you can see there. So if I just happen to be typing, it shimmies a little bit, but if I need to be tapping and touching the keys, you can see that it's sitting there kind of wobbling back and forth. What's actually happening here is that the iPad is, I don't want to say secured, it is definitely secured. It's just that there's just a little bit of play down at the bottom here when it sits in the hinge. Because the hinge itself is extremely solid. It does not move. I mean, you literally have to put a lot of force on this hinge in order to make it move. So it's definitely not an issue with the hinge. However, when you have the keyboard mounted into the hinge, the magnets are securing it, so it's not coming out. It's just a problem with a little bit of play in between while it's sitting in the hinge that's causing this wobble. Another potential issue, which is not so much of a big deal for me, it may be for some others, is that you cannot put the iPad in portrait mode. It has no ability to lock it in the hinge here in portrait mode. Another issue, kind of minor, in this particular price range I would expect to see multiple colored backlit keys. There are other ZAGG products out there that are cheaper than this one that actually have the multicolored backlit keys. That's a preference thing. It's not such a huge deal, but it would have been nice to see the multicolored backlit keys. The keys only have one brightness level, so there's times that you may want to have multiple brightness levels depending on the environment that you're in. And in fact, there are other ZAGG products that have variable lighting available on their keyboard models. In this price range, I think that it should have that feature. Occasionally I have problems with the keys not striking properly, so I'll be typing away and I'll notice that I'll have a bunch of typos in there. That has been an issue with this one, not necessarily the other one that I had. So this, maybe there's just something flawed with the way the keys type down on this one. It tends to miss keys for some reason, where some of the other ones that I had, this is now the third one that I've had. The other ones did not have that issue, so this one just might just be a defective model. Now this keyboard, you know, it might just be an issue with this particular keyboard because it's so thin and they're trying to cram so much into this thin little package. But there are other ZAGG products out there that do type quite well, so it's not to say that ZAGG doesn't know how to make good typing keyboards, because they do. So the verdict. In this case, my personal experience is going to dictate how I feel about this product. And given that there are a few showstoppers for me with the back cover breaking, some people might think that's not such a big deal. It is for me, because if the back cover breaks, it's what allows this iPad to dock into the hinge. So therefore you're going to have issues with it in the long run. The other thing, of course, is it being, you know, flimsy. They're kind of go hand in hand. The wobbling of this, the flimsiness of the back cover, in it actually breaking, all three of those little things kind of sum it up for me. I mean, in this particular price range, I would expect to see a much more polished product. So this is not to say that ZAGG has bad products, because they actually have some pretty good products out there. I think that perhaps this one might need to either go back for a second revision, a more polished version of this, and we'll have to take a look at that once it does come available. I think for the price, this particular keyboard going for $129.99, $130, it's got a fairly high price tag for some of the flaws that it has, and you have to be the judge of that yourself. Some of these things you might be able to live with, some of them you may not. And just again, some of my other personal experiences have been, this is the third Slim Book that I've gone through to see if some of those issues would go away. So to sum it all up, if you can live with some of the cons, then you would definitely want to get this keyboard. In my opinion, you know, aesthetics is not going to be everything, although I love the look and feel of the keyboard. It looks great. The looks, unfortunately, are not going to stand the test of time with the usage of it and it falling apart on me. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say I'm going to turn this one down and give it back and maybe look for a future version of it, and hopefully a more polished version comes out in the future. In the meantime, I'll be taking a look at the Belkin Code Ultimate Pro and doing a full review of that one, as it has very similar features of this one. So look out for that review coming up soon. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. If you did find this useful, like and subscribe, and I'll come back again soon with my upcoming reviews. Stay tuned. Have a great one.